Greetings, everyone. My name is Drew. You are you. And this is Hemingway Jones. He is joining me here today for a new set of episodes, I think, that I'm going to be doing. And I'm just going to call them Anything But Pens. And literally, I will be talking about anything but pens with folks that traditionally are part of the fountain pen writing sphere within social media and the writing community. So I've learned that over the years, me being plugged into this community, that there are a lot of incredibly unique and interesting people with some incredibly and unique, interesting stories. And these stories don't often get to overlap with all of the more writing related content. And this gentleman here in front of me now is one of those individuals. He's fascinating. He makes me curious about the who's and whys behind his whole thing, and I'm going to dig into that here today, and we're going to unwrap the enigma that is Hemingway Jones. Actually, he's not an enigma. Like, honestly, you're pretty open about a lot of your interests and curiosities.
I try to be, sure. I think it's much more interesting, and if you're going to put yourself out there, you may as well put yourself out there all the way.
I love it. You've got a ton of passion, a ton of curiosities, and a ton of interest, and I'd love to dig into that here today. And I will first admit that when I first saw you show up on YouTube, I'm like, okay, this guy looks straight out of he looks like a Columbia professor from 91 or something like that. What is his deal? Like, and then I saw a video saying like, oh, best pens for dark academia. I'm like, what the heck is dark academia? Like, this guy is saying things that I just don't know anything about, and I will say that my first impressions about you were wrong. I thought that you were going to be more, I guess, less inviting, less like I felt like you were going to be a little bit more, not elitist is the wrong word, but you definitely just this, with how put together you are, how intentional your background is, and everything you seem to buy or collect or be interested in is very just carefully curated. I didn't expect you to be as kind and warm and welcoming and down to earth and humble as you are. And I will say that my first question to you is, let's say there's somebody else like that who's like looking at this guy and be like, all right, with the hair and the, really intentional, outfits and stuff like that. What would you say if you could telepathically kind of give somebody the gift of insight and say like, this is who I am? What would you want people to think about you if you were able to kind of incept a first impression on people?
It's sort of interesting, I mean, we all have who we are, and who I am is very much a result of my life experience. I came from an extremely humble background, a single mom. My father died when I was 18 months old. We lived in Philadelphia in one of the tougher neighborhoods. I had a brother, really struggled really hard growing up. There wasn't necessarily full meals on the table all the time, but as I entered into the professional life, and there was a lot of luck that went along in that, I got a job at a bank. And then when I graduated college, and it took me 6.5 years to get through college, which I paid for myself. By the time I graduated, I got into this management training program in banking, and I sort of did find myself sort of lacking some social skills. So I had to shop for things I didn't have. So I had a literature background in school, and then I had my banking background, and I used to go to like GQ magazine on how to dress, because in those days it was a pretty good guide to those things. And so I started to shop at places like Brooks Brothers, but I would buy one suit because it was all I could afford. And and add to the collection and things like that. And even some of my social graces and things, there were times when I didn't really know how to act in certain situations. So I would shop characters from media. And I think who I became through the years is this amalgam of like this self-created entity.
That's really cool. So
it might be a little strange, but it's true.
What would you say to somebody who's like jumping to conclusions and be like, well, this guy is some hoity-toity
that's all
cable
true.
knit sweater wearing guy that has nothing in common with me?
That's true. That's all true. No, I'm just kidding. Well, I mean, my life is very curated. So part of the reason that is that I don't get a lot of time to myself. So the time that is mine, and that includes my YouTube time and my creative time, is very intentional. And by intentional, I mean I put a lot of intent behind everything that's around me. It's part of the reasons why I'm in the fountain pens and journaling. My life is the most me it can be. I put myself and the way I want myself to be into everything I do, from how I dress to how I speak to my relationships, just everything. It's like we're all the main characters. And I try to make my life as interesting as I can, as fulfilling for me as I can. So I get a quiet moment. I just bought a new desk because it matched this idea of what my college life was like, academia, bringing it back in. And I wanted to have like a cozy, warm place to make these videos and to, journal and stuff on my own time. So a lot of this is a result of that. It's just me
Yeah.
being very intentional.
And that's what I've learned after actually, not jumping to conclusions and, really absorbing kind of what you're putting out into the world and meeting you and getting to know you. I'm like, no, this guy's not like, he's not trying to be someone else. And I think that can often be
Yeah.
when you do have a very curated wardrobe and things like that, very curated, library and et cetera. It can, first, because some people do that performatively. They're trying
Oh, yeah,
to
yeah. I
they're
see what you
trying
mean.
to, say this is what I want to project out there into the world. But these are all things that you're just personally curious about, invested in, and passionate about, and you're
Hmm.
in a lot of ways wearing that passion, which of course I am a huge fan of.
Thank you.
And that's what I learned about you. I was like, this guy's not performing. Like he's just a
No,
nerd about all this stuff.
you're absolutely right, and I do get that, and I've addressed it, and I've even sort of owned it as a personal mantle, where people say like you're pretentious. That's like one of the go-to criticisms sometimes. But it's like pretension is the intent behind it. If somebody is doing what you say, if these books were fake or I didn't read any of them, then they're
Yes.
here as to make you think I'm reading this stuff.
Right.
It's kind of the opposite. I'm expressing myself through these things.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. And I think that's important. And I'd love for if anybody, is in that position, I want them to not be in that position because you're
oh,
a
thanks.
genuine human being. And it's unfortunate that if you're interested in something really like dorky, like, I don't know, whatever, half the things I'm interested in, then no one bats an eye at it. Like, okay. But if you're equally nerdy about a slightly different topic, like clothing, for example, or like, philosophy, then there's this thing that switches in some folks' heads saying like, oh, well, that's not, we treat that differently. So it's unfortunate in a lot of ways. And I just wanted to kind of mention that because first impressions are important, and I would love it if everybody else's first impressions for you were that this guy is genuine. This guy
Thank you.
is 100% interested in the things that he is talking about.
That's very
So
kind of
I've
you, and I appreciate you saying that. I think if people spend enough time with my channel, they'll certainly get a sense of that. I mean, I cover
absolutely.
everything. I've been transparent about my mental health issues, my past, my dreams, my insecurities, and how I both like I have an outsized ego, and I also kind of despise myself in equal measure. So it's a
I
struggle, and I make
and
that
no, but like
apparent.
I love that about you. I love that about you. I think you're an incredibly genuine human being, and I want to make sure that everybody knows that. So
Thank you.
thank you for putting yourself out there, and thank you for just being you. I will also say that like I think a lot of folks, and I don't know, when I was younger, I had a hard time kind of having the courage to wear the things I wanted to wear. And when I did, I was kind of retrospectively embarrassed that I did. I went through a period where I was wearing, pro wrestling t-shirts with an unbuttoned Hawaiian shirt over top of them. I looked
Sure.
absolutely horrible, but I was like, yeah, this is cool. I like Hawaiian shirts. I like wrestling. Yay. But then, a couple years after that, I'm like, oh my God, that's so terrible. But now I'm in a place where I'm like, no, that's fine. That's cool. Whatever. Like, I
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Whatever. That's so. How did you get to a point where you were really just focused on expressing through, your appearance and your clothing what you liked? And what would you tell somebody that is having a hard time just being bold and courageous about wearing what they personally like and not really worrying about what other people think?
I think you sort of have to confront it. I think you need to realize that you are going to take a lot of flack for being who you are. And I think you just need to continually lean into that, because denying who you are inside is far more detrimental than having someone whistle the Indiana Jones theme to you if you're wearing a fedora. You know,
Has that
you can
happened to
take
you?
that. Of course. I mean, I was friends with the guy that made the hats for the fourth movie. The guy who made Harrison Ford's jacket for Raiders made two for me. He's since passed away, Peter Bottwright. But I was so into Indiana Jones, and I used to go outside sometimes in full Indiana Jones gear if I felt like it. You're definitely going to get some attention if you do that. Now I never go full indie now, except at Halloween. Maybe a jacket and jeans.
Is that where the Jones comes from in Hemingway?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. And it came from forums I was on in the Indiana Jones community, and everybody had some kind of Jones. It was like Texas Jones or something. And I took my favorite character and my favorite writer, and I just, put them together. And then it became another persona to me. I answer to it. Sometimes in public, I meet people who only know me that way. So it's a lot of fun, and not always through YouTube. Sometimes through the old forums and things. So
That's amazing. I'm a big Indiana Jones fan as well.
Oh, nice.
You know the term MacGuffin, right, from film.
Yes, of course.
Every Indiana Jones movie has a pretty notable MacGuffin, which is
Sure.
like a physical object, an artifact that's very integral to the plot. That's kind of like the thing everybody's after. If you
Yep.
could have a prop, artifact from one of the movies, which prop artifact would you want to have on display there in your study?
Ooh, one of my viewers kindly sent me a Grail, which is pretty great, and I also have the Grail diary.
Oh,
It's sent by the
you
same
have the
person.
Grail
Very
diary?
lovely. I do. I'm looking
Is
at
it-
it, but I can't reach it.
It's all
but
filled
very-
in and everything like that.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I actually
I've
made
seen
one
those.
back in the day. I made one, and page for page, I gave it to a really dear friend of mine. So it was kind of nice to get one back. This one I think is printed. Mine I actually drew it out with.
Oh my god!
Yeah. So that was super fun.
Wow.
So,
Does it have like I've seen them for sale. It has like I've seen I think on Etsy or something like that. But they have like the removable pages where you can unfold it. It's the rubbing of the
It's
tablet
got-
that's in there and everything like that.
yeah, I think the rubbing of tablets in there. I haven't opened it in a while
Wow.
because it's sealed and it's tied, but yeah, it's really
That is
it's
awesome. Okay, so you
super
already
fun.
have them. You already have them.
I
That's
have.
fantastic.
I don't have the idol from Raiders. I would like that.
Yeah.
In the original script, the idol's eyes move, and you can kind of see it in one scene.
Hmm.
So I would like an idol.
I think I would choose the Cross of Coronado. I know it's a little bit
yeah,
it's,
yeah.
it's that's not really the MacGuffin from like one of the entire film, but for me at the beginning of Crusade, like how that kind of created Indiana Jones in a way.
Yes,
I'm
it
like
belongs in a
and-
museum.
and honestly, like just physically the way they just grab it, and
Oh,
just
yeah.
like, grr, with
It goes
the
across
chain
the deck
around
of the
it, just
ship. Yeah,
yeah, it's just
yeah.
I just want to get my hands on that thing. I don't know.
I'm sure there's one out there.
Oh, I'm sure. That is very cool. All right. Well, that was. I wanted to just kind of cover first impressions because I think that
Sure.
you project a really interesting and thought-provoking first impression. You've got an amazing backdrop. Like you're
Wow.
fascinating to hear and honestly see. Like every time you're wearing I'm like, tell me about that sweater.
Oh,
So
okay. See, that's interesting. I wasn't wholly aware of this, to be honest. You're kind of the first one to really put attention on that. I guess I never really thought about my first impression. I do get some negative feedback. I think anyone on YouTube does, and it does make you a little sad. You
It's
like
like-
to be understood.
Well, my thing is that I know that you are projecting your passions and your interests, but like not everybody is immersed in a hobby or community that is as outwardly celebratory about their passions and interests. And I think that
right.
when you do surround yourself with folks that are just exploding with curiosity and passion and just nerdy, deep divey, rabbit holey curiosity, then it's not a big deal. You're like, yeah,
Right.
But if you're not immersed in that, I think that it takes some effort, and you do need to give somebody some time, and you need to be willing
Mm.
to truly listen to why that person is who they are. And
Sure.
I think it's important that folks give the time and take a moment, and not just immediately without context, draw their own conclusions. Because and honestly, to be frank, I love it when you talk about sweaters. I am
I am
fascinated by
so
that. Like,
into sweaters.
I
I did
love
a.
it.
Did you see my video on the Guernsey? Like, I did a video
So
on a
here's
fisherman's sweater.
I'm gonna be honest with you.
No one
And
watched.
please don't think less of me.
No, please.
I clicked on that video faster than I clicked on pretty much any of your other videos.
I love that. It was one of the
Because
best videos I ever did, and
I
nobody watches it because it's out of my,
no, I love it
repertoire.
because I consume a lot of pen content. I do.
Sure.
So I'm like, it has to be, but I'm like, yes, sweater, please tell me more.
Thank you.
I'm like, so
I'll
yeah,
do more. I have
100%.
a whole collection. I have a collection of vintage Dale of Norway sweaters. Like, my
Oh, I've been
Norwegian
keeping up on your
sweaters.
sweater talk. Yes, I do.
I
I've
have
been keeping up on the sweater talk.
I have a whole bag of them. So like that one with Viking ships. I mean, yeah,
Oh my
you're gonna
god, I
see
hate
more
you.
of that.
I also don't want to hear more because like I love a sweater and all mine are like just cheap pieces of junk. But then you're like, oh yeah, this is from
Yeah.
Norway. I'm like, man, these are Norway. All
Uh,
right, get out of here with
sorry.
your sweaters. I'll feel better if you just you give me a bag or two. That's fine.
Okay, we
But
can arrange something.
no, no. That's a nice segue to another question I had.
Sure.
So I know this is anything but pens, but why did you choose to mainly? I know that you've covered other topics on your channel,
Hmm.
but like why was you've got a multitude of fascinations, and you are extremely knowledgeable about all of your hobbies and interests. Like you
Thank you.
have a very deep knowledge about the things that you're passionate about.
Thank you.
Why were pens the thing that you chose to actually kind of establish as the base of your channel?
It kind of came out of TikTok. I was on TikTok first, and
Mm,
TikTok was something I got into during the pandemic, where as a banker I was working from home for 2 years. I didn't go in the office for 2 years, and we were doing a lot of these like government PPP loans and things, and it was very lonely. And so I to break the tension of these long days of working at home, I would just grab something from behind me, typewriter, fountain pen, a book, whatever it was. And I would just keep putting them up on TikTok. And my TikTok took off, which as a middle aged guy, it was very unexpected. I have like 118,000 people who watch or subscribe to my TikTok, which is amazing. To this day, I can't believe it. But the stuff that really took off was the fountain pen videos. One of them has over 4 million views, which is insane. And it was just because at the time I hadn't changed the ink in my Mont Blanc 149 for like a decade. I always put Mont Blanc Royal Blue in there. And then I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do a video where I put Yamabudo in there, and it got, for whatever reason, it took off. So then I decided I need to be multi-platform because it can just disappear. And TikTok almost did disappear. I don't know, what have I been on YouTube now? 3 years, I think, something like that. So I just took that piece. But from that piece, I've always been looking for wider avenues to a broader audience too, because I do feel, and I say this on my channel, from the pen you can go anywhere, you can extrapolate out. It's just a function of YouTube though, where if you do a video on something else, almost no one watches it. Almost no one watched the sweater. I recently put up one on diaries and journals of historical people, which I'm super proud of. I tried to do it like a PBS documentary. Nobody watched it. It's
I
a
need to
little
watch that
hard.
one.
Thank you.
That
It
one
just
didn't
went
pop
up.
up on my
Yeah,
that one didn't
Thursday.
pop on my algorithm for me. Okay.
That's YouTube. See, YouTube. They,
All right.
you do
Well,
something
I
a
will
little
watch
different.
it. I will
Thank
make
you.
it a goal to ignore all of your pen content and just I will
Do the
watch
other
all your
stuff.
other stuff twice.
Sure,
all
I
the way
do
through.
appreciate that. So it's a little heartbreaking in that regard, but I do feel writing and expression is the core. it's the one theme that runs through everything I do. Because I'm into clothes and I've written about clothes. I have articles published that I've done on men's clothing. And, I'm into a lot of different things. But writing and expressing myself about it is the one thread.
Interesting. So like a lot of your hobbies, including, the books and the clothing, like it connects everything. It's kind of
It connects everything.
it's like the hub with all the spokes of interest kind of going to it.
Right. And it's also the one thing
Interesting.
I'm like always into too,
Yeah.
because there are, different hobbies and we have limited time. And sometimes I'm really into martial arts. Sometimes I'm really into collecting pocket knives. But I'm always writing with a fountain pen.
Martial arts.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
did you talk about martial arts?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I used to be an Aikido
I missed-
instructor. And
I missed that one. What?
yeah, I study Goju-Ryu. Yeah, I like to work out with my nunchaku. That's my favorite way of keeping in shape. So yeah, I do that. Yeah.
You're not. If someone were to like add you in as a character in like a movie or something, they would need to dial you back because they would be like, no, this is way too unrealistic. We don't have some like Norwegian sweater aficionado with nunchucks coming in here. Like this is not a real person. This guy's not real.
Well, I am here. I can show I'm not
love
AI.
it. I love it.
And I'll play on Spotify like "You Got the Power" or like the Mortal Kombat theme song from Utah Saints. Like that's what I'm playing when I'm working out. So I have this
Oh my god,
Conan theme song.
This is glorious. Like I'm so the more I learn about you, the less pen content I want. Frankly, like, I'm like, why is he not chucking on YouTube and telling me like I want sweaters and nunchucks, please?
That sounds like a great YouTube. Maybe that could be another YouTube channel. Sweaters and nunchucks.
Please. So do you use chain links or rope chucks?
I have both, but the rope ones wear out after time. They get a little frayed. Mine are really old. I mean, I actually recently bought some because when I'm down in Philadelphia, there's a fantastic supply place where I'm from. Asian World of Martial Arts up in the Northeast. Highly recommend it. But most of mine and my favorites are from like 1982 or so. Like,
That's
I bought
glorious.
them a
So
long time ago.
You have ascots, correct?
I do, but mostly when people think I'm wearing an ascot, it's a scarf. But I do have them.
Okay. Have you like I've never in my life have I seen somebody wearing a scarf and using nunchucks at the same time?
Yeah, I could do that.
So I think you need to. Like, I really do. Like I just so you can cross this off my personal list. Like I think that like there's you are the intersection of many interesting, fascinating hobbies, my friend.
Thank you.
And I love that about you. Okay. Let's ask me. So a lot of the things you do are very, like we've talked about in the video that you have on your channel, are very curated and very intentionally chosen, selected through consideration, research. I want you to tell me about a couple things you like in your life. It could be food, hobbies, clothing items, products, whatever. Something that is more or less cheap, crappy, trashy, or whatever that you're just like all about. That is absolutely not well intentioned, not curated, not high quality at all. But you're like, no, this is something that I love and I'll always go to.
Oh, okay, yeah. I will say so. I will want to do say that like I kind of have a personal philosophy that I like to buy good stuff once so that I can have it for a long time rather
that'll
than
be the next question. I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you for a buy it for life item, but like but first, I want you to say something trashy that you love.
Well, like Dunkin' Donuts, I love.
Here we go.
I know a lot of people.
What's your go-to donut of choice?
Well, I had to stop eating donuts a few months back. I dropped a bunch of weight. I'm trying to keep it off, but the maple frosted.
Maple frosted.
I have such a weakness for those, but it's the coffee, and a lot of people consider Dunkin' as like, such low class coffee, and you're supposed to drink Starbucks, and people say like, why aren't you drinking Starbucks? I'm like, Dunkin' Donuts to me is home. It tastes like home.
I
And
love Dunkin'
I remember
coffee.
my grandfather drinking Dunkin' Donuts in the early '70s. Like it goes way back. I drink my coffee black. At home, I have a little tiny bit of milk. I have an espresso at home and a mocha pot, which I like to use. But yeah, so definitely Dunkin'.
I love that. So whenever I go to the store at Farney's,
Sure,
the DC location, I get off the metro and I always stop and get coffee for the team that works there,
nice.
and because there's only two, uh, but I've tried multiple local DC coffee shops in the area, and I've basically given up on all of them, and I go to Dunkin'.
Nice.
When I'm there, I think it tastes the best. I really do.
Agreed.
I love the taste of a regular Dunkin' cup of coffee. Not even Americano, just regular Dunkin' coffee. Love it.
I love diners. I go to diners whenever I can. There's a huge diner
Absolutely.
culture in
Me too.
Philadelphia. And
Oh my
anytime
god.
you like when you go to a diner, usually the coffee's awesome and anytime you're like, "What's this coffee? It's so good." Maxwell House.
Yeah.
It's always Maxwell House.
Just sitting in a Bonomatic
Yeah,
back there,
yeah,
no big deal.
right?
You know?
Exactly. Exactly.
100%. I love it. At some point in 2025, I need to have breakfast at a diner with you, please.
That'd be brilliant. I'm sure we can make
Can
that
we make
happen.
that happen? All
Yeah,
right.
meet in the middle.
All right. Well, hey, if you're ever in Richmond, we've got one called City Diner. That's my favorite. It's one of the
Oh,
few
nice.
places you can still get you can still get canned corned beef hash, like the dog food slop, which
fantastic.
I'm a huge fan of.
Yeah, that sounds
How do you
great.
feel? How do you feel about that? Do you like bougie corned beef hash, or can you do it out of the can?
Oh, I would do either. I mean,
There we go.
I have memories of Dinty Moore beef stew. Do you remember that with
There
the
we
big
go.
thumbprint on the top, and you would
Now we're
just dump it
talking.
in,
Oh,
and it would
yes,
make that
sir.
sucky noise when it came out, and it would just plop
Yes.
into the pot, and then you hope it would turn
Yes.
into something that resembles a stew.
I love it.
And those
I love
terrible carrots, they were more like orange sludge that was kind of
it.
in
Yeah,
there.
absolutely. Oh man, I love it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right, let's. I want to talk a little bit. We talked about this on your channel a little bit, but I would love to talk about kind of what
Sure.
your top 5 favorite movies are. If you can pick a few and throw them at me, just whatever
I
comes
can.
first.
That's fantastic. I could talk about movies forever, but a lot of them, like favorites, we're talking, not like what I think is the best, right?
That's a great delineation. Yeah, yeah. I would say that your favorites because
Okay.
the best is I mean, if you want to throw one in there, that's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm more looking about the things because I mean, this is I just want to mainly talk about what you're passionate about and what you're
No,
interested
I
in. So
got
yeah.
you. Enter the Dragon. I love. Big Trouble in Little China. Highlander. Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark. The Third Man. Do you know that one? It's from 1949. I think it's Carol Reed directed it, but Orson Welles is in it. It's a post-war intrigue film. It's fantastic. It streams sometimes. I love that. I recently really liked the Nosferatu movie that David Eggers
I haven't seen
just
that
had.
one.
Loved it.
Apparently,
I love
the 4K disc is really good too. I need to pick it up.
Yeah, I have it, but I don't have it on disc. I have like the 4K stream, whatever it is you buy there. It has an extended version, which is exciting. I really love the Lighthouse. Had a lot of sweaters. There were Guernseys in that.
there we
So
go.
that was fantastic. I'm like, look, these guys dress like me.
That's when you're pausing it on Amazon so you can look at the cast, but they don't include the sweater. Like, oh, I just want to see what sweater that is. Come on, man, give me that good metadata.
Right? Exactly.
Love it.
But that's the kind of
That's
stuff
fantastic.
that I like.
Those
Like
are
it's
solid. Those are solid. That's a good
yeah.
eclectic mix.
Thank you.
When was the last time you saw Highlander 2?
Probably not since I saw it for the first time. Yeah. I know there's been multiple cuts of it, and it's such a shame because what made Highlander so cool was that there was like a deity in that universe, and it created these immortals that were fighting it out, good and evil, and suddenly they were from outer space, and it was.
Oh,
Why
so
would you do
bad.
that? Yeah, don't you
So
never go
bad.
against your own rules or mythology. If you create a
Yeah.
system, you got to stay within it.
Yeah, that's so bizarre.
It's so bad. But the TV show is fantastic.
I was gonna say, did you? So you were a fan of the TV show?
Hold on a
Yeah.
second. You got to see that.
Uh-oh.
A huge fan.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
There we go. You got both the swords on
That's
there.
yeah.
I used to have the a replica of the movie Katana and the show Katana.
Oh,
I never
very
had the
nice.
Claymore. But no, I was a big Highlander fan. I had a
Yeah, me
poster
too.
of I had an Endgame poster, which had
Oh,
the
okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
movie and
Both of
the
them.
TV
Yep.
tie in there. Yep. I used to think that was good. I haven't seen it for a very long time, so it's probably not. But
Yeah, there was
yeah,
diminished returns with those, but the series was solid.
yeah, I thought
Yeah,
so.
all the way up till the end, and kind of expanded the mythology without contradicting it.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
So we've established that you have a ton of hobbies, passions, and interests.
sure.
Can you pick a top five? Because you definitely have more than five.
Yeah, I mean, I have such obscure things. Like I collect barber jackets. Like who collects barber jackets? But I have
All
a
right, hold on,
collection
hold on.
of
What
like,
what is
yeah.
what is a barber jacket?
So Barber is a brand out of the UK that makes wax cotton jackets, and they have corduroy collars, and there's all kinds of different styles and things, but they're very tough. If you were to break down and your car wasn't getting traction, you could put one under the wheel, get traction, get out, and then rinse it off, and then still wear it. Like they're fantastic, and they're very British, very solid, very reliable. And I've always had some, but I just kept buying them. And I don't live too far away from their headquarters here in they're in New Hampshire for all of North America. So they'll like just put some of the obscure and strange stuff in there. And I just can't help myself. So I have this
That is
bizarre jacket
amazing. Have you
collection.
done a
Yeah.
video on Have you done a video on these?
No, on TikTok I did it like a 60-second thing on it years
Oh
ago,
my
but
god.
no, I probably should. I
Yes,
did some
please.
for other people. I did one for Stridewise, who I write for, on barber jackets, but I should probably just show my whole collection sometime.
Like do little nuggets like that. You could do a whole
Sure.
video on barber, and then like pick another type of clothing, like a sweater thing. Like I'm that is fascinating, and the fact you just literally are saying that these things have an incredibly practical use. So is it like
Yeah.
wax canvas,
They're like wax cotton. It's so much better than
wax cotton?
Gore-Tex, for instance. So I wish I had one
Okay,
handy. They're kind of on the other side, but
we'll have to do a sequel.
yeah, it's Barbour. And
Okay,
if you want to wear a raincoat, and I live in New England, up here it rains pretty much every other day, but these things breathe. So you don't feel like when you wear Gore-Tex like you're wearing PVC or something. So
yeah,
there's something very earthy about them. They seem connected to the terrain.
nice.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
So
What's
okay,
another
so
deep
that
dive you have?
I've been really into pocket knives lately. I have a huge collection of pocket knives, all sorts. I always have one. I think
What do you have on you now?
it's a bailout from Benchmade, which is one of
Okay.
my favorites. Very
Yep,
nice,
that's
very
cool.
fun
I
to
like
play with.
I like
Yeah.
that. I like that blade type.
Yep.
I
Oh,
have
Tonto. Yes, nice
yeah.
scales.
I have this is a not very expensive.
Ooh.
This is a best tech, but it's also
Oh, yeah. Oh,
the
that's
same
beautiful.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, we're like
This is
pocket
just
knife buddies.
it's just D2, nothing too
Yeah.
fancy. I think it was like
Okay.
maybe $50, but I
Ooh,
love the
it's gorgeous.
I don't like the blade ever showing. I want it to
Oh,
be
yeah, this
sitting
one does.
completely. That's a rule for me. The blade cannot be seen in any way. I want it completely obscured, and I want a
Oh, that's
nice
interesting.
when the blade is out. I want a very streamlined, consistent profile. I don't want
Oh,
the
yeah.
blade to be ever bigger than the handle. I don't want the handle to be bigger than the blade. So I'm
Wow,
very
you have a lot of
superficial when it comes to my.
requirements. No, no, you're
Well,
particular. Like that's
I
what you
love I
like.
love I love
Yeah.
arbitrary rules. Yeah.
Does that have a
So
thumb? Does that have a thumb flipper on that or
um no, it's a
back flipper? Oh yeah,
corner
very
finger, yeah,
nice.
yeah,
Yeah, well done.
yeah.
Oh, you're
Yep.
good with it too.
Um,
Well done.
so I don't have many. I have maybe like five, but I'm happy with them.
That's good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I probably have, I don't know, 20 something, maybe a little more. And then I collect books. I mean, I read a lot of books, but I also I collect. Well, I haven't bought one in a while because they got super expensive. But I collect first edition Hemingway books, and I used to have a pretty solid collection of Charles Bukowski, who I used to enjoy quite a bit. I still read him occasionally, so
That's
like a
really cool.
bibliophile. Yeah.
Yeah, that first edition books sound like a really cool thing to collect.
It used to be a lot easier. You used to find them at yard sales and things, but
That's the way it was with me in retro gaming. Like I could go to flea markets and stuff, pick up Mario 3 for Nintendo for like $6, but now it's like even if you go to a flea market, everybody's got eBay. Everybody can check the price, so
Yes.
nothing is a steal anymore. Even yard sales, you've got not only in the event that the yard sale organizer, proprietor, whatever, does not look up the value of all their stuff, you get these yard sale like vultures that just
Yes.
hound these listings, and they will be there first thing in the morning, pick up all the stuff. It's just the fun has kind of gone, unfortunately. So
I could see that.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Um yeah, do you ever envision, so you chose Hemingway Jones as a
Hmm.
nom de internet,
Internet. Yep.
but it's not a specifically pen centric name. Did you do that
Exactly.
intentionally because you knew that we were not going to always stick with pens?
No, I mean, I'll always do pen content because I'll always be curious. What I'm getting away from and what I'm super bored of is pen reviews.
Hmm.
Straight up, it weighs this, it's this long, it writes like this. I mean, how much adjectives can we spill on a Schmidt nib at this point?
Yeah, or a Yovo. It's like
Yeah,
people
if
are
it's
like,
off the shelf.
you didn't write with it. Well, it's a Yovo. Come on, man. Like, you
Right,
know what it.
right. I actually have said that in my last couple of reviews of them. I'm like, well, it's a Schmidt nib, so you guys know what that writes like.
How
Or
dare you?
yeah, and I also do approach it like each pen is that pen. It's an individual. So I don't bring rumor into it because
Right.
some of that's not true. There's just people who say things, it gets repeated. Sometimes it is true. But the funny thing about Hemingway Jones is that this was just my personal YouTube. So I hid a lot of what was on it. It was like vacation videos. And there are still
Yeah.
some guitar videos that are up because they had so many views. For the longest time, my guitar videos, my unboxing of a Fender Stratocaster, had far more views than anything I did in this world. It's not the case anymore, but it was. And I think I had trouble getting started when I first got on there because YouTube, I think, was looking at me as a guitar channel.
So what did your wife think of these hobbies? Like literally like every ninth word you tell me about a new collection or a new hobby or something like that. Like does she just like, man, like we're like I'm amazed at how, so I don't think your house is, a pile of chaos because clearly
It's
you
not.
value
Yeah.
and, intentional placement and stuff like that. But I hear about like, oh, I just can't stop buying barber jackets, or oh yeah, I also collect guitars and I use nunchucks. I'm like so in my head, like, how in the world is all of this stuff and organized and not just absolute mayhem? Like, does
Well,
she did,
it's not.
does she
Yeah.
ever does she have, is there a room in the house where she's like, Tim, you got to get a handle on this stuff, man, or like, or
No.
do you, are you pretty much, you got it looking
I
all
think
nice
it's
and neat?
like this is kind of where most everything is. So there's boxes with my knives in them. My martial art weapons are in boxes. I have an umbrella stand where my katanas are. I have 4 guitars here. There's more guitars upstairs in one of the spare bedrooms. Um, but it's not. It's really not junky. I do try to keep it
I don't believe it would be. I
organized.
don't believe it would.
Yeah.
I'd be very surprised if there was a junkie room in your house. Like,
Yeah.
you have an eye for intentional curation. But
I try.
um, but the fact that you just said umbrella case full of katanas, I'm like, oh my god, this is,
I'm ready.
there's no,
If the
you like,
Kurgan shows up, I am ready.
nice, better to burn out than to fade away.
Exactly.
Oh
Exactly.
man,
She has
I
her own
love that.
collections too. Like my wife is in the art world. She works for an
Well,
auction house. So she'll bring home she brought home a Cambodian stone lion and she's like, I'm pretty sure this is like 1500 years old. And I'm like, wow, cool.
oh my god,
Yeah.
that's wild. So yeah, that was
She's
gonna
fun.
be my other question. Do y'all share any hobbies?
We're very passionate about art. Like fun for us, even for my 8-year-old, is to go to a museum. Like we're heading to New York at the end of the month because Caspar David Friedrich is there. He does that painting Wanderer in the Clouds where you see the sort of Victorian gentleman from the back at the top of the hill and there's all clouds and a big valley out in front of him. You probably know it. I'll send it to you because it's used in
And I
media a
think you,
lot.
you might overestimate my awareness of culture and
Well,
but thank you.
it never leaves Berlin. So, we were all super excited. My daughter's like, I'm going to go back to the Met. She wants to see the Temple of Dender again. There's like an Egyptian temple at the Met, and she loves that stuff. So
Wow. Well,
we kind of all
she
share
comes by it
that.
honest. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But it's my
Wow. So
wife.
that's in your DNA then. How about that? That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that my wife and I don't share many hobbies. We both love Disney. We're both huge
Oh,
Disney nerds, but apart from
well,
that, like, it's not a lot. Not a lot.
that's
Let
good
me
too. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
because
No,
sometimes you
it
bring
100%
different
is.
things in, and you have things that you can teach each other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it definitely is. I've got two more questions before we wrap up.
Yeah. Please.
Um, when what is your if you could have one buy it for life product that you think everybody should have, like money, not with like, dude, just spend the money, get this thing, you'll
Hmm.
be happy that you did. What would it be?
Yeah. Let me see if I can. And I say this all the time. This Swiss Army fingernail clipper.
Oh,
Everyone should own these. My nails, I don't like any white showing in my nails ever. So I clip my nails like every other day. I
oh my
have one
gosh,
of these in my desk. I have one in my work bag. I have one in my work desk. I have a pair upstairs. They're like all over me all the time. They cost $18. You could put it on your keychain.
that's not
Everyone,
crazy.
everyone needs to own one of these. That would
So
be
what? Why is it? Why is that better than a $3 fingernail clipper from the drugstore?
because the ones in the drugstores aren't very reliable. Sometimes the sort of fulcrum doesn't work right as you lever it, and sometimes it kind of splits your nails. This one just feels a little bit more precise, and because there's
Interesting.
not much to it, you can sort of use it with a bit more intention and
Where
accuracy.
would you buy one of those?
I mean, Amazon has them.
Anywhere?
Usually,
Okay.
knife shops have them. Yeah, yeah. I
Fascinating.
kind of
Okay.
random, but it's one of
No,
those
no,
things I
it
obsess.
was
I
right there.
obsess
That's
about my
perfect.
hair and my nails.
I love it. I love it. All right. So real quick, I'm gonna need to head out here, but I
Sure.
would love to just say, like, I think that you are just like you said with the museum and everything like that. You're a very dedicated father, and that's very
Oh, thank
evident. You're very plugged in her life and her. You stoke curiosity and passion and interest, and I love that. What is your favorite thing about being a dad?
you. I feel like my life didn't start until I had my daughter. It's so
Yeah.
amazing. She's so incredible on her own. I think probably it's just seeing her grow and how she changes and the amazing person that she's becoming. Although also it's kind of one thing nobody prepared me for is how they change so much that you lose the infant and then you get the toddler, and the toddler's fantastic but you miss the infant, then the toddler's gone, you get the little kid. So there's like this kind of loss at the same time while they get bigger, but at the same time you marvel at them, and like my daughter's just so good. Like we've only punished her in her whole life like twice. Like she's fantastic, and we're not that permissive, but she's just such a good kid and so productive and interesting. So I guess it's just being there for her and listen to her speaking, and watching her become just such a great person, so different than us. It's just wonderful.
Almost. All right, so I do have to go. I would love to talk
It's
more
okay.
about this. Yeah, I feel the same way about my son. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing, and yeah, just that progression is a magical one for sure. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Mr. Jones. I really appreciate the time. I would love to do this again because you are an endless ocean of curiosity, my friend.
You're too kind.
And
Thank you.
I need to see somebody wearing a cable knit with a scarf, throwing some chucks.
We'll make
I
that
can't.
happen.
I need to, please, yes, sir. Once again, I appreciate you. You can find Hemingway Jones on his YouTube channel. You can find, I think you're Hemingway Jones on Instagram and TikTok as well,
Yep.
correct?
Indeed. Yep. Thank
Fantastic.
you.
Well, I will make sure that links are in the description below. Thank you all for choosing to spend a little bit of your time with myself and my friend Hemingway Jones. We both appreciate you all, and we're happy to have even contributed a tiny, tiny little bit of joy to your day. So thank you, and we'll see you again
Thank you.
soon.
Thanks so much. Take care. Bye.